Hey, what's up, guys? So during my consulting calls, I get a lot of questions about what regions are paying the best rates, what regions have the most high freight volume. And one thing I use in my freight dispatching training and my how to increase your profit in hotshot trucking training, I use this region map. Now, this region map was made up totally by me. And when it comes to flatbed trucking, I divided the United States up into 6 regions, and each region has its different aspects. There's regions where I like to run my trucks, regions where I don't like to run my trucks. With this region map, it's important to know your lanes too, because when you know what regions pay the most, what lanes pay the most, you can really increase your profit, especially in flatbed trucking. So this is a region map I go over with a lot of my clients, and I just want to explain it to you today. All right, so we're going to get right into it. So I like to keep my trucks in Region 1. So Region 1 contains Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, a little bit of Minnesota, Iowa, and Missouri. Some of Kentucky also. So Region 1 usually has the highest paying rates, the highest amount of freight volume going on in Region 1. So if I can, I'll run my trucks back and forth between Illinois and Ohio, and back over to Illinois or up to Wisconsin. So I like doing that, keeping the trucks in Region 1. But if I can't keep the truck in Region 1, I like to run a truck between Region 1 and Region 2. So if I have a truck in Region 1, no good loads are staying in Region 1. Or if I see a very high paying load that's paying somewhere around $3 per mile or more going to Region 2, I'll take it. And hopefully it's leaving from Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, or any of these states in Region 1 going over to Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is a good state for freight that falls in Region 2. So if I have to take a load, for instance, let's say from somewhere in Illinois, we'll say up by Chicago or somewhere like that in Illinois, and run it over to Pennsylvania. Once I get to Pennsylvania, I like to find a load coming back over into Region 1. So if I can't stay in Region 1, I'll run a load over to Region 2 and then try to run a load back to Region 1 and go back and forth. If I get over to Region 2 and nothing is going back over to Region 1, that's fine. I'll try to stay in Region 2. If you have a truck in Eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, any of these really eastern states around this area, what you'll find out is a lot of the loads are running up to Boston or running up to Maine. But as you get further up north towards the border of the United States and Canada, once you get up there, the freight volume will be very, very low. So let's say, for instance, I booked my truck a load today from anywhere in Pennsylvania going up to Boston or Maine. What I try to do if I'm running off the load board for this load, or if I'm dispatching someone for another company, if I get them a load headed up north, I try to book them a load that same day, have the load booked for pickup tomorrow. So once he takes that load tomorrow morning, if he drops off in Maine, I like to have them a load already booked, so he or she knows where he's going to go, where they're going to go. As soon as they drop off that load, they can head to the next load and get that load and hopefully come back down south. Because once you get up in this area, the loads are going to get very slow. So I like to have the driver a load already booked to get out of this area. We see some very high dollar loads going up to Maine and, even Boston, New Hampshire, upstate New York. But like I said, freight volume can be very low around this area. So I already have yourself or your driver a load booked coming more south, coming back west. Because you'll find out you'll get yourself stuck in this area. So really try to have a load book coming out of there. Some of the loads going up to Maine and some of those more northern states sometimes pay $4 or $5 a mile. We have seen loads that much going up that way. But the thing is, you don't want to go up that way with a load that's $4 a mile on your trailer and then get stuck up here for 2 days. So just have a plan to get out of there. So that's Region 2. Be careful. If you're running off the load board, be careful. For New York City, you see a lot of loads. It might not say that load is picking up in New York City. It might have another town, or it'd be a smaller area inside one of the boroughs in New York City. So make sure if you're booking loads off that load board, if you don't know that city or town, when you see whatever and then that it's in New York State, make sure you look it up and see exactly where it's in New York State, because little do you know, it could be in New York City, and you could be having to pay all those tolls and everything like that, not knowing that it's actually going in New York City before you, while you're booking the load. So before you book that load, make sure you know where it's going in the state of New York. If it is going in New York City, make sure you get some extra money on that load to pay for tolls. Region 3. Have a lot of states in Region 3, including Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina. So it's a pretty big region. And what you have to watch out for this region, as you come down here further south, I'm sure we all know Florida is a bad state for outbound freight. So be careful with those loads going into Florida. You get paid a lot of money going into Florida, but there's not a lot of freight coming out of Florida. So really watch out for Florida. Sometimes when you're in Jacksonville, you can get a load coming out the port that pays pretty good if your driver or yourself if you have a TWIC card. That's another thing. Just apply for the TWIC card. It's not much money. It's an easy process. Also on this post, I'm going to leave a link to where you can go and apply for a TWIC card. So have your TWIC card, because sometimes you can catch some high paying loads coming out of Jacksonville, Florida, or Savannah, Georgia, coming out of ports in those cities. So you want to have your TWIC card. That's just something that's very inexpensive to get, and it's good to have it. If you come into Florida, it's better to be dropping a load in northern Florida, like Jacksonville, especially as you come down here towards Melbourne, Florida, West Palm Beach, Miami. The further you go south, it's going to be really tough getting a load out of Florida. If you do come somewhere in the middle of Florida, like around Orlando or further south, you might have to do some deadheading. And just the further north you go in Florida, the easier it'd be to get a load out. So hopefully you're not too far from Jacksonville. Jacksonville is a city that I definitely do recommend to try to get a load out of there if you are in Florida and you're needing to load out. Besides that, again, as we get more towards the coast, down here towards the Gulf of Mexico and some of these really southern areas, loads can be very, very slow. So maybe if you're somewhere in the middle of Alabama or Georgia, they might be slow, but the loads aren't going to be as slow as more southern areas of Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. So once you get down here to like Biloxi, Mississippi, loads are going to slow way down since you're so far south. So always remember, rather than sitting days at a time in Biloxi, Mississippi, or anywhere in these southern areas, instead of sitting, you might have to deadhead 200-300 miles and pick up a load that's heading back up to Region 1 or Region 2, or just more northern areas of Region 3. Moving on, we got Region 4. Contains mostly Texas. You got some New Mexico, Arizona. What I'm noticing about Texas here lately, there's going to be a lot of short runs, a lot of runs for 250 miles for $500 or $600. So with those runs, if you want to run short miles, you can pretty much do that all day long in Texas right now. If you try to take a load from Region 4 to Region 1, it's probably not going to pay that much money per mile to get that far out of Texas. So maybe if you're in Texas or New Mexico, Arizona, and you want to get out, you want to work your way towards Region 1, say you're somewhere around Houston, rather than booking a load all the way from Houston, Texas up to Region 1, you might have to book a load from Houston to somewhere in northern Mississippi, or even Memphis, Tennessee. Book a load somewhere up there and work your way towards higher paying freight. Like I said, guys, it's just a strategy to go about this. So as long as you know the strategy, you can make money. Region 5 contains mostly California, some Oregon, and Washington. There will be a lot of loads running from the more northern area, the more northeast areas of the country here, northwest areas of the country, coming down to Southern California. So sometimes you can run loads back and forth between Washington State or, Oregon down to Southern California and just keep running back and forth like that. Sometimes a lot of loads come out of San Diego, California, or up by LA that's running over to Texas. And if you want to work your way to the eastern part of the country, you can run loads from California to Texas up to Region 3. So sometimes you might have to bounce around like that. So we come to region 6. So what you will also see in region 5, while you're in region 5, you'll see a lot of loads going from region 5 over to region 6. But the thing you want to watch out about that, if you take a load from region 5 to a state in region 6, let's just say somewhere in Utah, for example, freight volume is going to be very, very low when you get in Utah. So if you take a load from region 5 to region 6, after you drop that load off, you might have to do a lot of deadheading to get to the next area. So really be careful about region 6. Me, honestly, I hardly ever book any trucks loads going into region 6. If you're in region 1, you'll see some high dollar loads going into region 6, but be careful because the same as going up to Maine and Boston, New Hampshire, those loads will pay a lot of money. If you book a load from PA up to New Hampshire, you get a lot of money to go up there, but freight volume will be down. The same in region 6. If you have that truck in region 1, you run a load over to region 6, you'll get paid a lot of money. But once you get over to region 6, no matter where you're at, let's say you're in Denver, Colorado, I hear about guys sitting in Denver, Colorado all the time for 3 and 4 days. So that's why I really don't book any loads going into region 6 unless I have an owner operator and my owner operator's trying to get home and they live somewhere in region 6. And if I have an owner operator in region 6 trying to get out on the road, I try to book that owner operator a load going over to region 1 and not just bounce around in region 6 for days at a time because they really won't make any profit. So I try to book them that load leaving out of region 6, going into region 1 where higher paying freight is. And then once they're in region 1, I do, like I said in the beginning, keep them in region 1 or go from region 1 to over to region 2 and back to region 1. So if you do have a driver in region 6 and you notice the freight volume is very low, it's hard to find any loads for that driver. One piece of advice I would give is this is my philosophy. Never just sit for 2 or 3 days, because while you're sitting for 2 or 3 days saying you're not going to move your truck until you get a good paying load with a high rate on it, or a decent rate, while you're doing that, you're losing money. Remember, in this business, time is money. So just sitting somewhere, you're losing money. So I don't care if you have to deadhead to a load that's 300 miles away, maybe 400 miles away, especially if you're in region 6. I wouldn't deadhead that far anywhere else. But if you're running off the load board and no loads are popping up, that's what you have to do. You have to deadhead to get a load to get out of that region instead of just sitting. So, hey guys, this is my region map. If you have any questions about my region map, just contact me or leave a comment on the post below. Also, remember I have my freight dispatching training where I have my region map and plenty of other material to help you make money in this business. So that freight dispatching training is good if you're an owner operator, or if you're a or if you want to become a dispatcher and run your own dispatching service. I would recommend the freight dispatching training. I also have that how to improve your profit and hotshot trucking training. And other than that, guys, just remember, don't sit for days at a time. Deadhead out the area before you sit. And hey, I thank you guys for watching this video.